The elephant in the room is, of course, Mkhonto Wesizwe. The return, maybe, to say, of Mkhonto Wesizwe and the return of Mr. Jacob Zuma. You remember you calling me about 20 years ago that I shouldn't publish that picture in the club with you, and DP Floyd and Duduzile Zuma. I don't know, maybe Duduzile Zuma's finally gotten the two of you together. Let's talk about MK. Do you speak to the old man? What is your current relationship with him?
My relationship with the old man is very good. I spoke to the old man. He launched that thing on the 16th of December. We met on the 15th of December, if not the 14th, somewhere there. And he had actually suggested that there should be such an engagement to brief me about then his next political move. And I had a different view. And I said, look, we are here as the EFF, and we think we've got solid structures and good election machinery. We can actually, with your endorsement, make some inroads in difficult areas where we couldn't make inroads before. And that you do what President Mugabe did with Chamisa and says, I'll vote for this young man because I can't vote for people who tormented me. That was not to be, but we agreed that let's go and fight this battle, and we'll meet each other on the other side.
You wanted him to endorse you?
We wanted him to endorse the EFF, and we didn't want him to join the EFF because we never asked Winnie Mandela to join the EFF because we knew that she was ANC through and through, and she was too old to can change anything at that time. And we ran a risk of getting her to join, and after she joins, she says, Viva ANC in a meeting of the EFF, because that's what she knows all her life. So you're like, let's keep her there, but she's no longer there. She's just respecting those she struggled with, and most of them have departed. The same thing with President Zuma. You can't say to Zuma, leave the ANC and join the EFF. And that's why even when he went to the MKP, he said, as I remain a member of the ANC, and I'm going to campaign for MKP. And I find President Mbeki's comments to be very inconsistent. Because for some reason, President Mbeki thinks we didn't know that he was behind the formation of COPE. And for some reason, President Mbeki forgets that he's the one who was saying he will not campaign for the ANC, that he's actually the one who started that kind of language, that he has to be convinced why he must vote for the ANC.
He'll vote with his conscience.
He'll vote with his conscience, and that at some point he was saying his vote is a secret. I think Malema also at some point said something like that his vote is a secret. And today they say, no, we ANC, we're pushing ANC. And you see that, the issue has not been the ANC. They were being factional in their approach. If anything, I think President Zuma is doing what he's doing because he learned it from President Mbeki. It's just that President Mbeki did not have the necessary courage like Zuma and then come out publicly. But everything else he did is exactly what President Zuma is doing, to endorse a particular party. Mbalula used to call him Dalai Lama of COPE.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now, of course, he's sitting on the other side, lambasting Zuma, seeming to be, the Dalai Lama, the holy one there in the corner. On the 29th of May, South Africa has the opportunity to make its decision, right? Assume that many people, more than the EFF, vote for MK. What is your next demand on Zuma? Would you ask him or MK and the EFF to consolidate and make one party? Tell me about some of the conversations there.
Well, there's no need for one party. As long as there is convergence of ideas, even if you come from different parties, because ours in South Africa is a multi-party democracy. And therefore, the existence of other political parties should not be viewed as something that we wish to extinguish, because in doing that, then you would have undermined the letter and the spirit of the Constitution of South Africa. So President Zuma says land, we say land, he says jobs, we say jobs, and many other areas. I may not agree that teenage pregnancy girls must go to Robben Island. Where are the boys going when the girls go to Robben Island? Because it takes the two. But he must tell us that, because it takes two to make a baby. So to say girls only must go to Robben Island, it's a discrimination in its own. That's why we never agreed when we were in COSAS that pregnant girls must be chased away from school. Because some of those girls, the people who made them pregnant,
by the same
they were in the same school. Yeah. She loses her school time, and then the guy progresses. So, but look, I don't think those are the fundamental ideas is married to. We can always engage about that.
In my assessment, the EFF and the MKP differ on three key policies, if you will. You differ on the LGBTQI question.
Absolutely.
Zuma's statement in the last week or so that he will have to review that policy has had members of that community up in arms, and it's a community you have endorsed and showed support to. Even outside the embassy of Uganda in Pretoria, you wore the rainbow scarf as a symbol of solidarity with that community.
Absolutely.
The second would be the open border system. Perhaps to your lamentation, you've said foreigners who then find themselves out of the country must find creative ways to come back into South Africa. I don't know if you've had rethoughts about those sentiments. And then, of course, the final question would be such as the girls and the boys, as you say. Has the EFF reconsidered its approach on the open border system?
No, let's start with the LGBTQ plus communities. What are the bases? On which ideological basis do you ground that argument? Is grounded on which ideology? Because there's no any other ideology which is progressive internationally that suggests as a progressive political party, maybe worse in the left, you should not allow LGBTQ plus. And my memory doesn't serve me well. Like you said, it was so many years ago where we were in a club with Dudu and them and all of that. But if I'm not wrong, President Zuma has got a child who is part of the LGBTQ plus communities. I'm not sure, and I don't know how he navigates that point at home, because my son once confronted me and said, I hear the EFF doesn't want white people. I said, what do you mean? They said, no, you're going to chase everybody to the sea. I said, no, I can't do that. I mean, he says, no, I was worried because I've got white friends. So I will have to battle, if I want to chase white people out of South Africa, I will have to battle it first at home. And there are certain things that you just know you can't win, and you stand a chance of being embarrassed by those. We are not far from President Zuma on the foreign policy. There's a talk here of illegal immigrants, and I think his emphasis is on that. But he is not the kind who can say Africans must not come into South Africa, because we are one continent, and he advocated for that himself. He stayed in Zimbabwe, he stayed in Swaziland, he stayed in Mozambique, he was in Lusaka and everywhere else, including Angola, if I'm not wrong. So he's the last person. If anything, he's the one who should be advocating for this, because he practically and personally benefited out of the hospitality of Africans. And there's no way, everybody understands the EFF argument. Do you know that Venda was a republic, Leboa was a republic, Uputanzwana was a republic, and KwaZulu-Natal and all of that, including Seskans, Bantustans. You needed a passport to go to Venda. We collapsed the borders in Venda and said, no more, we are one thing, we are one South Africa, because we're always made to imagine us being different people, the same way they make us believe now. After the collapse of vendors, of the border, we never experienced the influx of vendors into Johannesburg. The people of Bembe are still there. You will find them. It's not an abandoned land because they saw greener pastures in Johannesburg. They said, we're no longer staying here, we're going to Johannesburg. What these people are saying is a swargefar. It is threatening, intimidating South Africans that you are actually going to have more in your yard if these people are going to come here, which is practically impossible. Why would the people of Mozambique leave Mozambique? Because they are doing relatively well. Why would the people of Swaziland? And you know what is even worse is that the Swaziland people would have left without Malema, because there's nothing there, nothing fiscal that can prevent them. The same thing with Lesotho. The people of Lesotho, it's Friday today. Tomorrow, if you go at the border of Lesotho and South Africa, there's no fence. They come drink this side during the day. At night, go back. There are others in Lesotho who are now receiving SASA. Yeah, in South Africa.
I lived in Botswana many years.
Yes.
You'd go to a funeral in South Africa.
Yeah.
You know, the funeral would be here, but you'd be eating in the Botswana side.
Yes.
You just cross.
Yes.
Khomo is in the side of Botswana. The borders don't seem to exist.
Yes.
But are you not advocating for illegality with that statement? They must find creative ways to come into South Africa. What are creative ways? Crossing the river? Surely there must be a type of border, not a colonial system, but a type of referendum to say, do you have the necessary papers for the instances of planning? Because the women will be here, they need to take the kids to hospital, for schools, you know, for urban planning and development. There needs to be a quantity of how many people require medication in Joburg. If government doesn't have that plan, it's going to be a disaster. Do you regret those comments?
No. Why don't you require documents to go to KwaZulu-Natal and you're coming from here and you have nothing there in KwaZulu-Natal, and then you are going to collapse and get sick in KwaZulu-Natal and affect their budget? Why is that not a requirement? What is different between you and these people who are there? Why can't we develop a policy that says, if we're to treat a Lesotho a citizen in South Africa, or Swaziland or Nigeria, once confirmed that this is a citizen of this particular country, these are the credentials, we treat this person and then we invoice their country. Why should we have a hospital and then be worried that sick people are going to be sick and then influx our hospital? Don't be worried about influx. You must be worried with healing people so that you save humanity. And the only way you can heal people is when you've got your own planning, but you know that in case other people come from outside, you always provide an invoice to those countries that they come from. That has been African planning, by the way. Those things you are saying is Eurocentric planning. You are talking about a funeral and a cow. You plan for 100 people, 700 people comes, and you never say, this is not part of me. No, you always know. We embrace.
There's no RSVP, Kaspi.
No, we embrace each other. We don't need invitation from each other. The Europeans are doing it. The people who are advocating for us not to do it, there is no border in Europe. You wake up in Milan and then you go and eat breakfast in Paris and have your lunch in Germany. With ease, without any paper, without talking to anyone. My brother, you're sitting here, you've got an idea, these people are not listening to you. Wake up one morning, get into a car, go and make that presentation in Zimbabwe, in Mozambique, in Angola, without knowing their language, but with a brilliant idea. Before you know it, you are a citizen there, you're working there, they embrace you. So the poor do not have the necessary means actually to can even leave their countries to come here. Most of the people you see here is the people who had the means to come here. But worse, because we're going to Easter, and I've got a property just next to N1 to Zimbabwe, I can't get out of my property with these people going back home. These are the people who you say they influx your country. They are not here to stay. They are here to make the means, and they go back to their homes. They are never here to stay. They are never here to occupy your land. They are never here to take away from you.
One argument says when the Malawans and the Zimbabweans go back home, who is going to work here? Because there will be no staffing in Gauteng, right? The restaurants, the hotels are all foreign HR. Those are the foreign hands that we use. The counter argument is that it will be empty because these people come and work. Many of them do work that South Africans don't necessarily want to do. Are you in line with that argument? That,
no.
That foreigners are not stealing jobs in South Africa?
No. The argument that when they leave our restaurants won't have people and all of that, it's not entirely correct, because they are hired by restaurants with an intention to pay very minimum wages, and they don't want to spend on workers. So if they leave tomorrow and South Africans who are interested to go and work, they will go and work. The problem is going to be for the bosses, because South Africans are not going to accept a minimum wage. They will want wages that speak to their lifestyle, that speaks to their living conditions and qualifications. So bosses don't want to pay. The problem is not Zimbabweans. They don't hire themselves in the restaurants. They don't hire themselves in our houses. Most of these domestic workers are from Lesotho. It doesn't mean South Africans can't do that. But the South Africans are going to demand a certain amount of money, and people are reluctant to pay. I've got a restaurant, I've got a farm, I've got a butcher in a township. You will not find a single foreigner, because I've not, the skills I've been looking for, right? When I looked for those skills in South Africa, there was no way I couldn't find them. So I found those skills in South Africa, and therefore there was no need for me to go outside. If I had looked for a skill and I didn't find, there was absolutely nothing wrong with me to go outside and get the people with the skill to come and work. Yeah.